Hi, how are you? And welcome back. We're here to talk about the Neptune retrograde, which is going to be happening, and forgive me while I look at my notes, on the 21st of June, and also the Sun is going to enter Cancer on the same day. So let's have a little talk about the Neptune retrograde. The first thing about Neptune is it's a long retrograde, it's a small planet, it's a long way away, and it's going to be in retrograde until November, so June, July, August, September, October, 6 months. So it's going to be a slow, steady retrograde, which is kind of nice, because that means it's a lot more gentle. So it's going to be robust because of the timing of it, but it's going to be a little bit more gentle. And what I mean by the timing of it, it's just because it's going to be on top of a lot of other big retrogrades. So that's going to bring about the robustness, because they're just going to be all adding to each other in terms of depth and intensity. The thing about Neptune is that when it's in, well, as a planet anyway, when it's a standalone planet, it whispers. So in the earlier, I talked about how video when we were talking about the 16th and the 18th, and I talked about those trigger points, and I talked about if there being chaos. This is not whispers, because we've got a small planet triggering with a big planet, but this is just, the retrograde is just Neptune by itself. So it's going to be a slow whisper. And when we talk about Neptune, we need to be understanding Neptune is the king of the sea. He lives under the waves. And we all know when you look at the sea and you see the top, there's a lot of difference between what's happening on the top and what's happening on the bottom. It's only when we get into shallow water that we see what's happening on the top impacting on the bottom. So we're talking about going deep with Neptune. We're talking about underlying currents and going deep with Neptune. And we are talking about illusions in the retrograde. So Neptune is about spirituality, and it is about creativity. And that's when it's all going forward. But when it's going into the retrograde, we start to have this sense about it's showing us illusions, and when it goes into the retrograde, that's its purpose. So what I hinted at before about Neptune will be showing us where our belief systems are actually working against us, particularly in terms of spirituality, and particularly our belief systems about ourselves as being creative beings. Because if you don't believe we're creative beings, then we see ourselves as being at the mercy of other people and other things, as opposed to being in charge of our own lives. And yeah, there are some things that we are at the mercy of, and that's the reality of life, because we choose not to be the people making those decisions. And that's where we're at. But there are many things that we are in charge of. And what Neptune does is Neptune starts to highlight anywhere where we have illusions or inconsistencies about our spirituality or our creativity. And when we're in retrograde, the words that comes out is face the music. And it's also going to be about hard truths, which is really, really, really difficult. And it's going to be about hard truths, and hard truths about identity, particularly as how we're identifying ourselves through our spirituality or through our creativity or lack thereof. So what we're going to be happening over the next 6 months is we're going to be having some rude awakenings. They're going to be slow and they're going to be gentle, but they're definitely going to be tough, because it's going to bring you up face to face with the reality. And some of us, a lot of us, all of us at times, we're not into reality. Yeah, it's nice to have illusions about who we are and how we operate and what we believe and how well it's working for us, right? It's great. So we're really going to have, for many of us, our faith tested. We're going to have our truths tested, and we're going to have strong perceptions about ourselves being tested. And this is all about. It's a bit of a wake-up call. It's a bit of a shock. It's a bit of us thinking about, okay, so who are we? Who are we now? Who are we now? And where do we want to be evolving to? And it's very much about seeing ourselves as the creators, seeing ourselves as spiritual beings, and reaching a really good understanding about that. And elements in our lives which are either stopping our spiritual development or are hindering our creative growth or our creativity, they're going to be highlighted for us as we go along. So that's what I want you to be thinking about with Neptune in retrograde. We're going to have some really, really hard truths. The other thing about Neptune is that we are talking about stuff that's deep and hidden. So some of the things that are going to come up will surprise us, because there'll be things that we either thought we had buried, they might even be things we thought we'd dealt with, or they might even be things that we are really surprised at the fact that they're coming up. But nevertheless, that's what's going to happen. So Neptune in retrograde. But just remember, it's slow, and it will be a gentle unfolding. But those things that it will be unfolding for us, that it will be illustrating for us, they will be really important. And some of them will go down to the core of who we think we are through our spiritual beliefs and through our creativity or our lack thereof. Okay, so that's just what I want to say happening. At the same time, we've got the sun going into Cancer. And Cancer is where the sun is moving. It's not about us in Cancer, it's about the people we love. It's about the people we care for. It does become the focus for safety and security and home and nurturing. And what we might find happening, and this is all I'm going to say, is because remember, when the planets start to go retrograde, that's when you get the biggest churn of energy. So not just we got these trigger points that I talked about in the previous video, but we've got this churn. So because the sun is entering Cancer and is talking about safety and security, and often our sense of spirituality and our belief in spirituality is one of those key aspects that gives us a sense of security and safety. With this move in the first couple of weeks of the sun entering Cancer, which is going to be on the 21st, so say until the end of this month, or the end of June, we might start to have some questions about our faith in our spirituality and where that is and where that's placed. So just be aware that might come up for us. And again, like I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just be gentle and have a really good think about what that means for you. And using meditation, using, if you interpret prayer, using time out, using muse means just take some time out and watch the grass grow, watch the butterflies. Will give you some space to get a sense of that. But with the sun entering into Cancer, we are going to be thinking about our home, we are going to be thinking about security, and we're going to become very nurturing, which is really, really lovely. And that's going to be nice, because that's going to bring our attention to our loved ones and to our families and who we're spending time with and how we're valuing that, and that's a lovely way to be. The other side to this move, or the only caveat that I want to give you about this lovely move of the sun in Cancer, because it really is a delightful time of expressing love and being loved, is that we might be because we're focusing on the people we love and the focus around us, we're going to be very much in tune with their mood swings, and we're going to be upset by other people's, especially if they're close to us, other people's mood swings and variations that will be happening. And us personally, we're going to be very susceptible to the moon and what's going to be happening and the changes that will be happening to the moon. And remember, we spoke about, we've got the full moon happening in Sagittarius, and the full moon is about exploring and hunting. So we're going to be quite susceptible to that energy of exploring and hunting, and where we're going to have the people around us also susceptible to exploring and hunting. Particularly if we've got people that we are having a mothering, nurturing role to, we're going to be worried about their safety. We're going to be worried about their security. And I'm talking now probably primarily to people with children. They're going to want to be spreading their wings and trying new things, and we're going to be going, will they be safe? Will they be okay? So that's the only other caveat about that. So just be aware that you are particularly sensitive to the moods of the people around you. You're very susceptible to the moods of the people you love, more so than normal, and you're on high security alert for your home and your environment and the people you love. And at the moment, with the full moon in Sagittarius, this movement of the sun into Cancer and the full moon in Sagittarius is that the people we love, ourselves in many ways, we're going to be wanting exploring and pushing boundaries. And the mothering, nurturing instinct in us is going to be wanting to keep everyone safe. So you can see there's a bit of a dichotomy happening there. Okay, so there we are. We're going to have Neptune retrograding, and it's a great opportunity for spiritual growth. It's a great opportunity for creative growth. It's a real burst. And we're going to be showing quite clearly those areas where we're being held back. And on the same time, same day, not at the same time, happening a bit later in the day, the sun is going to move into Cancer. So the nurturing side of us is going to come out, and we're going to want to keep everybody safe. And that's going to be slightly in opposition for the first 2 weeks, because the full moon is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the sign of the hunter. Okay, take care. I'll do the astrology soon, and bye.